The 9 oldest mummies in strange positions, recently discovered that terrify scientists. Mummies are often associated with mysterious legends about ancient Egyptian civilization. However, few people know that mummies have been discovered not only in Egypt, but also in various places around the world, where archaeologists have unearthed countless bodies that have been miraculously preserved for hundreds or even thousands of years. These mummies are not just simple corpses washed away by time. They carry countless strange stories. Some mummies have astonishing beauty, others have perplexing smiles, and some are even found embracing one another in a mysterious pose. All of these are enigmatic traces that archaeologists are still trying to explain. Have you ever wondered how mummies can be preserved for so long? And could there be hidden stories behind these strange forms? Let's explore these mysteries in today's video. 900-year-old mummy, smiling with mouth open. Scientists at Henan University in China recently made a surprising announcement. A team of archaeologists discovered a mysterious burial site containing hundreds of skeletons. The most intriguing find was a decapitated skeleton over 3,000 years old, buried in a strange position. Archaeologists believe this skeleton was the victim of a sacrificial ritual during the Shang dynasty. Earlier, 339 other skeletons were found, showing signs of kneeling with their hands bound, discovered at a massive sacrificial pit. Around 13,000 people were reportedly killed in sacrificial rites at the ancient capital of Anyang during the Shang dynasty, a period spanning over 200 years. Halfway across the world in Peru, archaeologists were stunned to discover a dry, blackened, stiff body, bound by cloth to the point of suffocation, lying curled up with its mouth open in a grin. A local garbage collector, Miramontes, 54 years old, was so frightened that he reported it to the police, suspecting foul play. He recalled, "I thought it was just some box someone had thrown away. But when I opened it, I nearly froze in shock seeing the horrifying skull inside." Initial investigations indicated that this was a 1,100-year-old mummy. The body had been tightly wrapped in rope and placed inside a box. This mummy was discovered by archaeologists in the city of Trujillo at the Chan Chan archaeological site, the capital of the Chimu Empire. Many speculate that someone may have stolen the body and removed it from the excavation site, but this remains a theory. The truth behind the incident is still unknown, and scientists and archaeologists need more time to provide an accurate explanation. Alien mummy. When it comes to aliens, the mystery of the pyramids in Egypt deepens even further, with unexpected discoveries made by archaeologists. Researcher Louis Caparat uncovered a secret room containing several strange objects, including a papyrus with hieroglyphic symbols carrying messages from the stars, dating back to the reign of Pharaoh Cheops. This script is believed to be a message from an extraterrestrial being to Pharaoh Cheops. But that wasn't the strangest object Caparat found in the secret room. He also discovered a small, transparent crystal coffin containing the body of a small alien. Shocked by the sight, he thought of biologist Braga. Upon receiving the news, Braga flew immediately to Cairo with plans to collect blood, tissue, and DNA samples from the body, which Caparat was convinced belonged to an alien. Unfortunately, Braga never made it to the Great Pyramid of Giza. When he arrived in Egypt, the authorities forced him to return home. Shortly afterward, for unknown reasons, both the alien mummy and the transparent coffin were confiscated by Egyptian intelligence and transferred to a sealed location. Since 1988, the Egyptian government has never publicly commented on the matter, leaving the world wondering whether extraterrestrials truly exist or why no one has discovered evidence of their arrival on Earth. To this day, the Egyptian government continues to hide the secret that the Great Pyramid of Giza still holds many unexplored mysteries. Hasanlu lover's mummy. In 1972, a team of archaeologists from the University of Pennsylvania uncovered several mummified remains at the Tepe Hasanlu site in Iran. Among the discovered remains, 2 mummies embracing each other caught the most attention. These 2 mummies were later named the Hasanlu lovers. The posture, where they remained intertwined even in death, was romanticized and came to symbolize eternal love. According to research, This area is believed to have been burned down in an attack between two warring factions, with people from both sides dying in the conflict. The Hasanlu lovers were found inside a plaster coffin, which might have been a hiding place for combatants. They likely crawled into it for shelter, but couldn't escape the smoke that suffocated them. After their discovery in this unusual position, the Hasanlu lovers were quickly portrayed in the media and by the public as a couple who died together and continued to embrace and love each other even after becoming ancient mummies. However, the truth turned out to be different, and many were shocked by the results of scientific research. There is no certainty that these mummies were a male and female couple. In fact, it is very likely that the Hasanlu lovers were two men. This suggests that same-sex love might have existed nearly 3,000 years ago. Through analysis of the pelvic bones and teeth, the remains of the person on the right have been confirmed as a young male, aged about 18 to 22. The identity of the person on the left is still uncertain, but it is also likely to be male, and this person died between the ages of 30 and 35. The exact relationship between these two remains unclear. Their embrace before death is not enough to definitively declare them a romantic couple. Despite ongoing debates, the position of the two skeletons continues to fascinate future generations. Intact mummy on a yacht. On Friday, February 26, 2016, under a clear sky and calm sea, everything seemed perfect for a fishing trip. Christopher Rivas, 23, a resident of Barobo, a small town on the eastern coast of Mindanao Island, Philippines, was out fishing with a few friends. About 64 kilometers off the coast, the group was surprised by the appearance of an old dilapidated white yacht named Sayo. Like a ghost ship, the vessel was badly damaged, with the mast broken and parts of the boat submerged in the water. Rivas and his group bravely boarded the yacht. What they discovered was far more eerie than they had imagined. The mummy of a man, lying naked on a chair. They immediately contacted the police. After an investigation and through documents found in the cabin, the police identified the mummy as Manfred Fritz Bayerat, a German sailor. The autopsy revealed that the 59-year-old man died from a heart attack. He had drifted at sea for weeks, and the salty air and warmth of the seawater acted as a preservative, slowing the decomposition of his body. To explain why Bajorat's body remained intact with minimal signs of decomposition, forensic pathologist Professor Peter Venezes stated, "The air, heat, and salinity of the sea are very conducive to mummification. These natural factors can preserve a body for 2 to 3 weeks, after which the fingers and other parts dry out rapidly, leading to gradual decomposition over a couple of months." The mysterious case quickly spread across the internet, with many wondering how Bajorat, a German, had ended up drifting alone across the Philippine Sea. Based on materials found on the yacht, the police were able to answer that question. In a note, Bajorat wrote, "30 years we shared the same path. But then you left me. May your soul find peace. Manfred." The yacht also contained photo albums, treasured by the 59-year-old man, depicting a happy family life. The photos ranged from snapshots at Notre Dame Cathedral and cafes in Paris to family picnics. One photo showed Bajorat holding a baby with the caption, "The first time we sailed with little Button." From these photos, it became clear that Bajorat had once had a happy family. His wife had died of cancer in 2010, and his daughter Nina was a captain on a cargo ship at the time. According to Nina, 2 years after her mother's death, Bajorat sailed alone, exploring the seas for several years. The loss of his wife and the disintegration of his family likely became a sorrow he could not overcome, and he chose the ocean as his eternal home. 8,000-year-old mummy in a strange position. For a long time, it was believed that the oldest mummies in the world were from Egypt, but this recent discovery has completely shattered that idea. In mid-March, Live Science published an article detailing the results of an image analysis never done before, revealing that the oldest human mummies did not come from Egypt or even Chile, but from Europe. Around 60 years ago, an archaeologist took photographs of several skeletons buried in 8,000-year-old graves in southern Portugal. Researchers stated that over a dozen ancient bodies were found in the Sado Valley of southern Portugal during excavations in the 1960s. At least one of these bodies had been mummified, possibly to facilitate easier transportation before burial. Additionally, there are signs that other bodies buried in the same location may have also been mummified, suggesting that mummification practices were common in this area 8,000 years ago. The complex mummification process was used in ancient Egypt over 4,500 years ago, and evidence of mummification has been found in other parts of Europe dating back to around 1000 BC. However, the recently identified mummies from Portugal are the oldest ever found, predating the previously record-holding mummies from the coastal region of the Atacama Desert in Chile by about 1,000 years. Rita Peroteo Stierna, a bioarchaeologist at Uppsala University, explained that while mummification is relatively simple in extremely dry conditions like the Atacama Desert, it is difficult to find evidence of it in Europe, where the climate is much wetter, making it rare for soft tissues of mummies to be well preserved. Evidence of European mummification was discovered in a set of photographs left by the Portuguese archaeologist Farinha dos Santos when he passed away in 2001. Santos had studied human remains excavated from the Sado Valley in the early 1960s. In a recent study of these photographs taken by Santos over 60 years ago, scientists discovered black and white images of 13 graves from the Paleolithic or Mesolithic periods. They used these photos to reconstruct burial sites at 2 locations. Upon examination, they found that one of the skeletons was highly flexible, meaning the arms and legs had been moved beyond their natural limits, indicating that the body was tightly bound after death. The photographs of one of the skeletons excavated from a site in the Sado Valley show signs that it had been mummified before being buried about 8,000 years ago. Moreover, bone fragments from the skeleton were still connected after burial, even though most small foot bones usually disarticulate during decomposition. Strangely, there was no evidence that the earth around the grave had been disturbed by the decomposition of the body's soft tissues, implying that no decomposition had occurred. 4,000-year-old princess mummy. In 2003, the discovery of a 4,000-year-old mummy of a princess from the Xinjiang region caused a major stir in the archaeological community when it was excavated from the Xiaohe site in Lop Nor, Xinjiang, China. Despite being thousands of years old, this mummy retained a picture-perfect appearance. In fact, the cemetery where the Princess of Xiaohe was buried was first excavated in the 1920s. However, due to the limited archaeological technology at the time, work in this area had to be halted. It wasn't until about 60 years later that archaeological work in the region resumed. When the tomb of the stunningly beautiful Xinjiang princess was discovered, everyone was astonished at her appearance. After 4,000 years, her body showed no signs of decomposition. The skin on her body still retained its elasticity, and her sharp features, such as her very high nose, delicate lips, and perfectly shaped oval face, were still intact. What most surprised archaeologists even more was the princess's genetic makeup. After conducting DNA tests, it was revealed that the princess was of mixed Asian and European descent. Analysis showed that she also had European ancestry. Upon examining the entire cemetery, archaeologists identified about 330 tombs, but more than 160 had been destroyed over time. Mummies in the Guanajuato Museum, Mexico. A strange and haunting museum can be found in Guanajuato, Mexico. Behind fragile glass cases are mummies, believed to be the victims of murders, those buried alive, and even infants. These mummies are covered with a yellowish skin layer that envelopes their skeletal frames. Most of the thinner skin areas, such as eyelids, genitalia, cheeks, and earlobes, have disappeared, leaving holes and cavities. The human remains are preserved due to the burial practices at the Paula Saint Cemetery. Here, the bodies were not buried in the ground, but placed in sealed tombs, lacking oxygen, which slowed down the natural decomposition process. Jesus Saltillo, one of the museum's tour guides, said, "The bodies did not decompose, but instead dried out, almost as if they were mummified. Some bodies are well preserved, with intact eyebrows, beards, and fingernails. Almost all of the mummies have their mouths agape, as though they experienced immense pain. However, this appearance is a result of rigor mortis and jaw muscle relaxation after death, rather than a sign of suffering." Another glass case in the museum contains 3 mummies in distressing poses: a man stabbed to death with a wound to the abdomen, a person who drowned with legs bent like a frog, and a woman who was buried alive by her family while pregnant. her face frozen in a scream. According to guide Jesus Saltillo, the Paula Saint Cemetery, located next to the museum, has been a source of mummies for many years. When a family's land lease expired, they had 5 days to pay £95 for 20 years of burial. If they didn't pay, the bodies of their relatives were removed and sent to the museum curator for inspection. If the curator deemed the mummy to be of interest to tourists, it would be added to the exhibition. If not, the remains would be taken to a mass grave on the outskirts of town. The museum is also famous for having the smallest mummies in the world, including a 4-month-old fetus of a woman who died from cholera in the 1860s. The fetus was found still intact inside its mother's womb. The most recent mummy is baby Enrico, a 6-month-old infant who passed away in 1999. After the 5-year lease on the tomb expired, the museum displayed the child's body, which had been dressed by the parents in the likeness of Saint Bartholomew during burial. In the infant room exhibit, there is also a mummy named Little Saint Martin, a baby who died during birth and was never given a name. The parents had dressed the baby in Saint Martin attire, complete with a broom, rosary, and priest's robe, hoping that their child would cross over to the afterlife peacefully. Additionally, the museum displays many mummies with yellowed skin, shrunken eyeballs, and mouths agape, resembling Hollywood-style zombies. 2,500-year-old mummies with gold-coated tongues. Recently, during the excavation of an ancient tomb on the outskirts of Cairo, researchers discovered the mummies of a man and a woman, both buried with gold leaves placed on their tongues. The two mummies were found in separate tombs, placed in limestone coffins dating back 2,500 years. The man's mummy was intact within a sealed tomb. The excavation team found various artifacts, including canopic jars, beetle-shaped amulets, and burial figurines made of fired clay. However, the woman's mummy was in poor condition, and her tomb showed signs of having been looted. Experts from the University of Barcelona have identified the tomb as being from the Side period of the 26th dynasty. Gold leaves are commonly found in ancient Egyptian mummies. They were placed on the tongue of the deceased during funerary rites to ensure that their soul could communicate with the god Osiris in the afterlife. Osiris, the god of the underworld, judged the souls of the deceased. The ancient Egyptians believed the gold tongue would help the deceased persuade Osiris to judge them favorably. Currently, the archaeologists are unsure of the identities of the man and woman in the tomb, but their burial sites are next to each other. The man's skull remains intact, and the gold tongue is clearly visible from his mouth. In addition, the team discovered 402 small clay figurines, tin-glazed pottery, and various amulets and green beads next to the man's remains, further supporting their findings. Besides these two mummies, archaeologists working at the Taposiris Magna site in Egypt have also uncovered 16 rock-cut tombs, with another mummy featuring a gold-coated tongue. The researchers speculate that the embalmers removed the tongue of the deceased and placed the gold leaf in the mouth during the burial ritual. The mummy of Princess Merit Amun. In 1881, archaeologists discovered the royal tombs of Deir el-Bahari in Luxor, Egypt. At this archaeological site, much attention was given to a tomb about 3,000 years old. When the tomb was opened, the research team was startled to find the mummy of a woman with a mysterious appearance. The mummy was placed in a sarcophagus with her head slightly tilted backward, her mouth wide open as though she were screaming in horror. This led experts to wonder if the woman had experienced a painful death, which might explain the frightening expression on her face. To solve this mystery, experts conducted several tests and DNA analyses on the mummy. The research revealed that the mummy had been buried with great care, according to the rituals reserved for a princess. After further investigation, experts were able to identify her as Princess Merit Amun. It was found that her brain had not been removed during the mummification process, which is an important feature distinguishing royal mummies from those of ordinary nobles. The experts also discovered that Princess Merit Amun died suddenly from a heart attack. They believed that her death was not immediately recognized, and by the time it was discovered, her body had already stiffened. As a result, the embalmers were unable to make her appearance more peaceful for her journey to the afterlife. Therefore, the princess's mummy retained the painful expression she had at the time of her death, and today, experts refer to it as the Screaming Princess Mummy. After hundreds, even thousands of years, these mummies remain remarkably intact, with every detail and posture preserved, which has left many people feeling both frightened and startled. As for you, what do you think about these mysterious mummies? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any other fascinating archaeological discoveries. For now, goodbye and see you next time.